Hi, everybody. This is day 1484 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered, and, his corpse dishonored. And so we don't have his remains, and we want his remains. Whatever they have of his remains, we want his remains. And of course, that is our intention, is to correct the record. And we've taken a giant step in correcting the record. And that came with the declaration of Richard's murder officially. Officially, they call it the declaration of death, or that they declare him deceased. And with the information that surrounds that declaration, being at on Fort Bliss, you know that the place of death is Fort Bliss. You know that it was murder, because you're talking about uh, a huge military installation as far as importance goes. And we have spent countless amounts of money to secure that military installation. Um, have they spent the money well? I don't think so. I don't think so. There are security breaches. But what is really, and let me make sure that I'm on, let me make sure that there are security breaches. Okay, so I'm on and I can hear myself. Everything's good. So I can get your remarks. We're burning the midnight oil tonight. Sorry for coming on so late. We have been working nonstop behind the scenes. I kid you not. Um, we have been sending out lots of emails and letters, of course, and doing our research, and then taking care of um, what our intentions are, which is the truth about Richard, setting the record straight when it comes to his record. Um, it was tampered with. It was tampered with, and he was tampered with. He was he was hurt, y'all. He was hurt before he was murdered. He was, and it was unjust. It was totally unjust. They retaliated against him for standing up against the trafficking, for the illegal activities. Don't forget, and I just saw the little video, and I think I'll put it up tonight. But it's a TikTok, a little video that came on about El Paso, about Fort Bliss, about the 14-year-old girl living in the barracks being pimped out to soldiers in the barracks. A 14-year-old girl. This is, and the problem with that is that little girl, probably with her teddy bear, was, maybe it was, one of those unicorn purses or whatever. But her stepfather was part of the security on Fort Bliss. This is what is, that to me is the problem. That the security, those that are entrusted to secure, to do their job, um, are failing. And, you know, what happened? Did the others not see it? Did the others not know it? I mean, she was living there for weeks. For weeks, come on. And of course, like the NCOs, like the generals have totally, well, I say there's 44 four-star generals. There was what, um, 7 during World War II, and we have 44 now, and we have only a tenth of the amount of soldiers, and we have all of this new technology um, uh, that makes being a general much easier. You know, this warmongering, this parades right now in Afghanistan with American supplies and vehicles and helicopters and everything that they say was left behind. It wasn't left behind. Okay, I'm going to say seemingly, apparently, it was sold because they could easily have packed that up and brought it back home. But Mealy didn't want to do that. And it was very clear because he was under the spotlight for it. And he already, to me, seemingly already the deals had been made. Um, that's my opinion. I think the 44 four-star generals have betrayed us, absolutely betrayed us, because uh, every last one of them, I don't doubt it, knows about the case of Richard Halliday, just like they know the case of Vanessa Guillen. And they absolutely know this case. They know what's going on. They know what's going on at the border because that is pivotal, pivotable, pivot, pivotable. I hope I'm saying that right, for our entire nation. That is the breach in security that can break our nation. That is where you can bring in a foreign military. That is where you can house a foreign military. Uh, that is where um, the weapons are uh, to get the weapons. Um, that is where uh, drug money is. You know, everything's happening. And the thing is, you know, I grew up in Temple, Texas. I absolutely understand the way the roads, the highways work there. Um, you know, El Paso is very, very important to the nation. And Richard got there young, right? He joined when he was 18, um, was distinguished uh, honor graduate for basic training for his cycle and also advanced individual training. Number one, $500 he got. He was, you know, he didn't even tell us that he was the distinguished undergraduate. My parents went to the graduation. He didn't even tell them. You know, in that letter, you have to read that very humble, beautiful, beautiful, kind letter that he wrote to his grandparents when he found out that they were going to come for his graduation. We were in Germany at the time. I called my dad and I said, Dad, do you think you and Mom will want to go to Richard's graduation? One of us has to be there. We have to be there, right? And my dad and Mom were like, absolutely, we're going. We're hopping in the car. We're going. We're going to go to Fort Sill. We're going to go see our grandson. And they got there, and he was a distinguished honor graduate. This is how humble Richard is. He didn't call us up and say, well, I'm number one. You know, um, he wasn't a braggart. And he's a hero. I, you know, we have to set the record straight because we have to let the world know what a hero Richard is. That he went through horrible retaliation, severe. I mean, a feel great Article 15 for nothing. Nothing. They have nothing on him. Zero. Zero. And they have zero. And they gave him the full punishment of a field grade Article 15. Full punishment. And for the 45 days, that means taking away 3 ranks at one time. Um, and you know what that means? You can say, oh, okay, well, he lost some money. No, that means that they made him the bottom of the totem pole so that anybody could have fair game with him and harassment, anything. They set him up. They set him up and it led to his murder. And it was for him reporting the criminal activity, the criminal trafficking that they were engaged in. And how do we know that? Because Richard's platoon leader was Dallas Hart. And Dallas Hart, he's not squeaky clean, y'all. He has some problems. Richard has a clean record. So, Dallas Hart has some problems. And he has some real criminal problems because there is the motive for Richard to even become a whistleblower. All you have to do is take one look, one read, and I posted it. I have it too, right? Yeah. I need to post it again, but it was taken down because it's so bad when your own mother is panicking right when Richard is murdered, right? At the same time period. And, the military says that the July 23rd, but if you know the whole conversations we've had with the CID and everything, um, that's, okay, roundabout. And Leilani Hart, Dallas's mother, filed her complaint the 22nd of July. Now, it is amazing that we have the FBI confession on the incest, on the child assault, on the illegal purchases of weapons, on the child porn, on the threats to do violence, the propensity to do violence. You know, it's amazing that we have it. And it came from Leilani. It came from Leilani. And so we have other documentary documents, evidence that corroborates all of that. It's not like that's the only thing. Even though that's notarized, that was accepted by the FBI, that holds a lot of weight. But no, we have submitted open records requests over and over and over again. And we've gotten a lot back. And it has revealed a lot of things. And you have to comb through all of that because some of that is vast, you know. So we really appreciate our team because you have to read through it once you get it. And it's very, very important. And they play games with you. The very servants, and that's what they are. Our government workers are servants. That's why they are there. And for some reason, we have this, and thank God for my grandmother, you know, my Omi, because she would slap me down on this one. Um, in Deutsch. um, but, you know, life is all about service and serving, not being served. And she made that very, very clear. and to humbly serve. That is what makes you happy. She goes, at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you happy. If you're always self serving, you are going to be miserable. You'll never be content. You'll never be content. You cannot seek and chase happiness. You've got to be a servant. And that's the path to joy. So, we have this notion, or this problem, this systemic problem, that our officials, our government officials, have forgotten that they're servants. Maybe that's why they're so angry. Maybe that's why they have no joy. They've forgotten that they're servants, and they are not a private entity. So they cannot, even though they are doing this, try doing open records, and you should absolutely get good at it, because when a time comes that you don't want to learn how to do open records when it's a crisis, take it from us, because that was our situation. We had to learn how to submit open records. And it sounds like, oh, it's not too hard or anything like that, but you can't just go to all of the different agencies that we have, and we have so many of them. We have too many of them. And ask for open records and then get it all back, and you're overwhelmed. You bury yourself in paperwork, right? You have to have a strategy, and you have to know who does what and what kind of information you're looking for. It really is an art to do open records. And the best journalists, the best investigative journalists, I believe that they have mastered the art of open records requests, because they absolutely know that the servants will play games, that they have forgotten that they're servants, that they might block your open records, that they will submit to higher authorities to block your open records. And why is this, such an offense? Well, because we're paying their salary. You know, eh, your child doesn't want to show you their report card? What are you talking about? I want to see the report card, right? This is my child. I take care of my child. I feed my child. I clothe my child. I train up a child in the way they should go. I need to, so that when they're older, they shall not depart from it, right? Um, I need to see their report card. And, and then to have those, uh, the right to for the public to know what the government is doing, to ask to see, what are you doing? We hired you, we voted for you, or this is our system, and them to play games with you and block you and all of that. This is what we've been through for over 4 years. And praise God, we have enough. We don't have it all, but we have enough. What I'd really like to have, and we're being blocked by Park University, is we have attempted multiple times to get Richard's academic records, because we absolutely know that he was attending school there. And we know that Richard wanted to be a CID agent, and that was what he was pursuing. And we also know through information that has come back to us that Richard was part of the CID internship. And we talked with Marlon Soto at length about this in Richard's inquiry, official inquiry into becoming a CID that he submitted, you know, and Marlon Soto was totally aware of it. He absolutely was. And yet, Park University is playing games. Why? Why are they blocking our access to our son, our murdered son's academic records? What is it to them? Now that he has the declaration of death, they have no excuses. At the beginning there is and my husband could tell you more about it, but there is an exception to the privacy of the students, and that is in cases of emergency. So we applied that this was a case of emergency, that we needed to have Richard's academic record. We needed to know if he took classes with Director of Emergency Services, Thomas Kane. We need to know if he took classes with the CYS director, at good connected with the CPS, right? And that is Ann Ogle. We needed to know. We need to know if he took classes with them, and we need to know if Richard was an intern in the CID, because that office is very small. And so then he would absolutely be in contact with Marlon Soto and Tavita Nusa, who was getting sexual favors from Leilani Hart. And she was bragging that she was running the CID office on Fort Bliss. So if she was running the Fort Bliss office on the CID office on Fort Bliss, and Richard was an intern, then that means that she had contact with Richard, that he had contact with her. And that's why getting those records are so important. And we know that she made false accusations in Park University, that she was attending Park University. We know all, we have so much, right? Um, so in those and that's also the message that I want to really bring to everybody today, is don't ever be discouraged when they start playing games. Keep going, and you will get enough. It's so obvious um, what happened to Richard after getting enough open records. And it is, when when your platoon leader has a mother like Leilani Hart and a father like James Hart. Remember, James Hart was really the subject of the notarized complaint. Her aim, he was the target of her notarized complaint on incest, of child sexual assault, of the child pornography, of the illegal weapons purchasing. And, he's in charge of veterans benefits on Fort Bliss. And from the last we heard, he's still there. He's still operating on Fort Bliss. And, this is so problematic for us. You cannot have a criminal having access to our most vulnerable soldiers at the Veterans Administration, right, or the VA, and have access to their information, their personal, confidential information. So, and that's going on right now. So that's a big deal for us. And their communications, and we have a lot of it, we have enough. And the open records have revealed so much. And we are under no doubt that Richard was reporting criminal trafficking, that he was murdered, that his remains, his corpse, was dishonored, which is a crime. And it shook up Jaime Corona. Okay. Jaime Corona was DHS, but the liaison for the Department of State during that time, uh, totally part of the investigation into Richard on the Mexican side, on the Juarez side. He was liaison for Chihuahua, Juarez, Mexico. So when mentioning and confirming that Richard was murdered, confirming that with, turning pale, being very frightened, and confirming that Richard's Mexican file was tampered with. And Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia has a part to play in that one. In our opinion, her and her son Thomas Hoffman, who, if you don't know who they are, her ex-husband that she divorced in 2001 was murdered at the Walmart mass shooting right in front of the door. Alexander Gerhard Hoffman. And so, this, it makes you wonder. The first thing that came to my mind is, oh my gosh, is cartel involved in this? Is cartel involved? Because, we were always told, oh, I've gone to the cartel. They're not involved in this. Really? Who would tell you? Who would tell you, oh, I'm cartel. I'm not involved in this criminal trafficking. I'm not involved in the murder of a U.S. Army soldier. Oh, okay. Even saying anything about the murder of a U.S. Army soldier, I would say would be risky if you were cartel. You wouldn't say anything. And, so going back to the open records, we have just received enough. And one of the things that this is breaking news, but it's not really new breaking news. It's just putting together all of these open records, putting together all of the witness testimonies, because we want to correct the record for Richard. So we have to put it all together, right? And Richard's looking even better. He's just amazing. I mean, clean, spotless record. And good, all around good guy. All around good guy. So going to these open records, and what they reveal is we have confirmed through our information that Richard's remains were identified with DNA and dental records. Okay. So, all of and there's a lot. It's not just Nadal Baim and him, being a FBI agent and knowing how to turn on the spigot to let all of the truth flow when it comes to Richard being murdered, or Richard's remains being in Juarez, Mexico, and telling the cashier that she needs to keep that a secret, How can you keep something like that a secret? I don't know. And to take down the flyers and, so all of the evidence, the corroborating evidence and where the evidence leads is the FBI would not say it was Richard's remains without doing a DNA on the remains that they found. So, absolutely, we have a confirmation that they um, had a DNA analysis and they had Richard's remains. So that's huge news for tonight. Okay, everyone, thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you so much. And um, there is something else before I go that's really important, and it's in the news, and it's about these open records, and it's about school districts in the El Paso area that are blocking open records. And so there's an article about the Canutillo. I think it is Canutillo school district who are under investigation right now. Yes, it is for blocking open records requests, answering, and being servants and being, you know, oversighted by the very people that pay their bills, right? They have to undergo oversight. And today we're in another, because we have open records almost every day that we put in, because it takes a while to go through and know where to look when it comes to figuring out who murdered Richard. And, the prime suspects are Dallas Hart, Jonathan Ambrose, um, Nadal Baim, Tavita Nusa, Lilani Hart, James Paulin. These are the main suspects. There's a few more, not so known names, but yeah, um, and that needs to be done because there's so much smoke and mirrors going on today, and we need to stick with reality, right? We need to stick with reality. So thank you so much. Yeah, that the AG's office is looking in to this blocking of open records. Yeah, so we have some communication that we have to do over the weekend, um, and it's getting so much, y'all, uh, that I think we're getting close. I think we're getting close because we know what happened, right? We know what happened. We just need to know Richard's remains. We need to get back his remains. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.